So, it happened. The 10-year anniversary celebration video was published on Robtop's channel, marking all major events that happened in the game, the rise of players, levels, and the community. But it was never really mentioned how Robtop went from making this to making this. And that's why I'm here today, to mark down Robtop's creativity by making all of his levels into one, to create a level that feels like every main level at once, with a little bit of traits from each one. First, I'm gonna start by choosing a song that it's gonna use. Okay, we're at the song selection part. I just had my iced tea of the afternoon, meaning I am refreshed and ready to make a wise decision about this. So initially I was gonna go for Ultimate Destruction, which is the first song that comes to mind when you mention a conglomerate of levels, but then upon further inspection I noticed that it was unfortunately copyrighted, so I'm gonna go with the second best thing. We've got Chaos Airflow, which is one of the first songs that I ever found in this game, and we have a long story, because I once tried to make a level out of it that later on got deleted, so I guess I'll make one today. I'm gonna combine every single Robtop level into one, and the ones that I like the most are the ones that I'm gonna build first, so we're gonna go from my favorite to my least favorite. Yeah, it's about time we start, let's do this. Alright, it's time to begin. The first level that I'm gonna go with, depending on who you are, this might come as a surprise to you, it's actually Hexagon Force. I just love Hexagon Force. The song, the introduction of slopes and duels, it's amazing. So I think firstly I'm just gonna make some easy symmetrical gameplay, nothing too hard, nothing too easy. And then the next thing for us to make is some slopes, because that's what's introduced in Hexagon Force, it's the slopes. There has to be as many slopes as possible, but I don't want to over spam the gameplay, so I'm just gonna make every single obstacle made out of slopes, while leaving space for some air decoration, which comes later on. This is pretty much as Hexagon Force as it can get, so we're gonna move on to my second favorite level. My second favorite is the newest level that came out in Geometry Dash, it's Finger Dash. And since Finger Dash introduces the spider game mode, that's what we're gonna shift our duel into. We're gonna do a spider duel, and that's exactly what I have in mind for this. We're gonna make a few spikes here and there so you can parkour in between them the way spiders do that. There's really not a lot of options I have with the spider game mode here, so going up and down is what we're gonna have to rely on. Okay, I feel like that's a big enough Finger Dash reference, and we're gonna move on to my third favorite level. My third favorite level is actually Electrodynamics, because it's so fast-paced and I just love the theme that it has. What Electrodynamics introduces are the speed changes, and I think we can get rid of our duel because this has gone far beyond Hexagon Force. So we're gonna do a slow part, possibly with a cube again. I am aware that this part is extremely slow, and Electrodynamics' whole thing is the fact that it's fast-paced, so there's really nothing much that I can do to improve the Electrodynamics vibe. We're just gonna have to cope with it, except for this tunnel. You know how in the Electrodynamics there's a huge tunnel at the beginning? That is what this is gonna be a reference to. Just a few slow jumps. When this gets decoration, the vibe is gonna increase exponentially, so stick to the end of the video to find out what this looks like in the end. The next level on my list is Geometrical Dominator, which, what I'm gonna do for that, there is a very, very iconic part in that level, which is, you know, the drop when it goes black and all the lasers and stuff start appearing in the darkness. That's what I'm planning to do here. So I'm gonna add these, a combination of these little tower thingies and these plateau looking thingies, and these are gonna have a way bigger impact on the whole level and the whole vibe once I actually decorate this, because this is gonna be purely dark. You're not gonna be able to see any of these except right before you actually get to them. So this is gonna be our Geometrical Dominator part, and I've actually been thinking of combining it with my next favorite level, which is Can't Let Go. So if you look closely, you can actually see the resemblance between this and the dark part of Can't Let Go. But for all I remember, Can't Let Go actually had these normal square blocks instead of towers, so I'm thinking maybe I should be adding those. So yeah, this is the part that I'm most satisfied with so far, and I'm gonna move on to my next favorite, which is Blast Processing. When I started playing the game, I was actually really happy with how Blast Processing was, because, you know, there's all these hard levels, Electrodynamics, Theory of Everything, Clutterfunk, and Blast Processing just serves as a bit of a break from all of that, and that is the exact reason why Blast Processing is still in the top of my Robtop level list. Blast Processing obviously introduces the wave, that was the 1.9 update, and we're gonna make this part entirely wave. Though maybe I should also be on the lookout for combining it with other parts like I did with Can't Let Go and Geometrical Dominator over here. So this is gonna be our little Blast Processing wave. I'm happy with how this turned out. I don't want to spend my whole afternoon building this, so I'm gonna make this level about 30 seconds long, just a little bit over the drop of the song, because it's extremely anticlimactic when people end their levels directly on the drop. I don't want to be one of those people. Next up, my 8th favorite level is X-Step. The reason I like X-Step is because first off, the song is great, and then the second, there's a lot of gimmicks that Robtop used that were not intended to be used the way they were. For example, there's that one part with gravity pads which you can bounce off of. Maybe that's something that I should add here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that actually. I'm gonna put gravity pads all over this wave. You don't need to exactly be a genius to figure out that these don't belong in these places, but I mean, X-Step did the same thing and I'm trying to recreate the vibe, so there you have it. So this is gonna be our Blast Processing / X-Step step part. And I can move on to the next one. God, I can't get over how funny this looks. My next two favorite levels are Base After Base and Polargeist, which were both made on the release of the game, so I'm thinking I could just fuse them into one part here. Base After Base doesn't introduce all too much. For all I know, the only thing Base After Base adds is a little bit of block design, and that's all. But Polargeist, on the other hand, introduces these jump orbs, or apparently they're supposed to be called rings, and that's the fusion that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mix platforms and jump orbs, and this is gonna be all done in reverse gravity, because that one part in Base After Base, you know, where you have to get the coin and it just flips your gravity upside down. In Base After Base, a lot of the gameplay actually happens up in the sky, and that's why I'm gonna make this part up in here. And I think this is pretty much it. It's very simple, I know, but so are the main 7 levels. My next 2 levels are 2 levels that have basically gone hand to hand through the entire history of the game. It's Back on Track and Stereo Madness. Stereo Madness basically has nothing special to offer except spikes on the ground and maybe a ship gameplay or 2. And then the thing that I especially remember about Back on Track is having these jump pads on the ground, which is actually what it introduces, and having to jump over them while there's spikes above you. This specific gameplay pattern, this is what always got me when I started playing the game. I always died to this. And I don't know what it is about it, because the start of the level tries to convince you that jump pads are good, but then this part tries to tell you that they're not good, so I really had mixed opinions and didn't know whether to jump or not, and that's why I always died. And then for the end of this part, if you have bad jump pads, there's gotta be some good jump pads as well, so this one is gonna be the one that you have to jump over, otherwise you die to a spike. My next favorite level and then the favorite level right after that are another duo that has always gone hand to hand through the history of the game. Theory of Everything and Theory of Everything 2. Theory of Everything 1 adds the UFO game mode into the game, as well as these 2 orbs, the purple one and the blue one. And the thing that I remember the most from Theory of Everything 2, and that's the first thing that pops to mind when you say the name of that level, is just block design. I'm gonna add another one of these pink orbs at the end, because that's the first thing that's introduced in Theory of Everything, and then we have our whole part ready to go. For the next part, I got really fortunate, because my next favorite one is Dry Out, and then the next one after that, which is the 16th, we're actually really far in, is Jumper. There is one part in Dry Out that I specifically like, and it's the part where you have to parkour between these computer chip looking obstacles, and that's perfect because the song is just at the drop and we can make a ship part out of it. And you might notice that I'm making this part specifically long. That is because there is one thing that's introduced in my next favorite level, Jumper, that really fits into this part. The fact that you can add the upside down gameplay into other game modes. When you play Jumper, that is the first time when you can actually encounter an upside down ship game mode. So for this part, we've got computer chips from Dry Out, upside down ship from Jumper, and a big question mark on what I'm gonna add into this level next, because my next favorite level is gonna be Cycles. Never mind, I just remembered that Cycles introduces the ball game mode, which is gonna be a perfect addition because the drop continues and we kinda have to switch the game mode. There's been the ship game mode for the past few seconds and we need something fresh. Ball is perfect. This part's gonna have just a bunch of timed clicks to the sync of the song with the ball, and somehow we're already at 29 seconds in length. This is actually turning into a proper level, and I had no intent of doing that when I started recording this. This is gonna be our Cycles part. Pretty simple, but nothing can be too simple. It's actually really convenient because the next level after that, my 18th favorite level, is Time Machine. I never really knew why Time Machine is so low at the bottom of my list, because it's like, I don't dislike it, but I don't think it adds anything special to the game. It adds these portals, which is obviously what I'm gonna use in this part, but other than that, is just not my type of level. You get what I'm saying? Anywho, we're gonna make this part the same, except with a direction portal, or however you want to call it, mirror portal. I never really understood that either. So we've got a full-on Cycles/Time Machine part, and we've only got 3 levels left. My third to least favorite level is Electroman Adventures. I know that's gonna piss a lot of you off because Electroman Adventures is not a bad level, but I don't know, I feel like it's just a bit unnecessary because it doesn't add any new gimmicks to the game, and even if it was left out, even if it didn't exist, the game would really not be anything different than it is today. So Electroman Adventures, as I said, doesn't add anything special, so I'm mostly gonna focus on the decoration when it comes to it. The 2 levels after that are Clubstep and Clutterfunk. And I know Clubstep is the first demon level that most of us beat, let's admit that to ourselves. But for Clubstep, I don't know, maybe it's just that I don't like the song, maybe it's the fact that it doesn't really add anything to the game. It is the first demon, but I don't know, it's just not my type of level again. And then the final one, Clutterfunk, that is pretty much self-explanatory. So my least 3 favorite levels are gonna be all made into one specific part, the last part of the level. It's a bit ironic that my least favorite level is the one that actually adds something to the game, which is Clutterfunk with the mini portals. Our last part is gonna be a ship, which is gonna have the Clutterfunk decoration, which is is, I believe there's some type of special saws that get added. I'm not sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these saws first appear in Clutterfunk, right? And then on top of that, I'm gonna add a Clubstep monster, because Clubstep is the originating level of the very iconic Clubstep monster, which too many levels use even these days. Let's admit that to ourselves. I'm gonna add some eyes. Oh my god, he looks goofy. I'm gonna add some teeth. Not everywhere, because this guy doesn't like to wash them. Even more unnecessary sauce, because that's what I see all the time in Clutterfunk era levels. I'm gonna add some more monsters, because everybody loves these. And I just realized that these two guys look like they have plungers on their heads, which is exactly the vibe that I'm aiming for. Actually, for the last Clubstep monster, this is probably gonna be the end of the level right here. So I'm gonna add this whole thing, a very long Clubstep monster. And right now, I feel like our wonderful level, which is 36 seconds long, should have all of the vibes of RobTop levels fused into it. The layout looks pretty good, and I feel like it's time we start decorating this. Using the power of editing, this level is immediately gonna get basic decoration and background flashes. There we go, the background flashes are set, and I added one more thing which I think should be persistent in all the parts of the level. These little antennas, because these are introduced in 1.0, and I feel like they're really good in terms of decoration. Like, I like them a lot, and since they're so old and no one uses them anymore, I feel like they should have a special place in my level. There, now I just have to match each of the parts with their specific vibe in terms of decoration. So we're starting off with Hexagon Force and Finger Dash. I want to see what comes out of this. Alright, I made something. This is the Hexagon Force part, and this is the Finger Dash part. I feel like they resemble their respective levels pretty well. I mean, I'm not the best at creating, but this is all that I could come up with for now. Okay, for the next part, this is electrodynamics, and I feel like I just have to give a lot of emphasis to the block design on this, because it's hard to replicate the vibe with such slow speed, as I already said before. So I'm gonna build electrodynamics here, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, so in the end, electrodynamics didn't actually turn out to be that hard to build. I just had to place some basic block design and some basic deco, and here I made a little bit of a hybrid transition between Finger Dash and electrodynamics, so that it doesn't feel like it just straight up jumps into 3 updates back. So this is our electrodynamics part, looks pretty good. And now we're off to this part. This is one that I have something special planned for. So now we have this part entirely hidden, and my plan for this is I'm gonna make a laser glow around every single one of these boxes, and as you get close to it, it's gonna light itself up to show you exactly where you have to go. And it all needs to be done in a way that it depicts Geometrical Dominator, because it has a really unique vibe to it that I really want to recreate. There it is, we got all the colors of the Power Rangers: red, orange, yellowish, very light green, and Alias blue. I don't know, I've never watched Power Rangers. So this is what it looks like. Each block has its own designated laser, and I added a little star laser companion on top of them. So this will be our little gimmick as a combination between Geometrical Dominator and Can't Let Go. And next up we have X-Step and Blast Processing. I'm gonna take a little while to try and replicate Blast Processing structures, and then I'll get back to you in a few minutes. There we go. This is our Blast Processing and X-Step combination. I think it turned out pretty well. The next part, I made the background fade into darkness because I really wanted to be reminiscent of that one part in Can't Let Go. And the only deco that we're really gonna do is we're gonna add some antennas that I forgot to add earlier on. Oh yeah, and there's one more thing that I really have to add to this level. It's the chains. It's these little things, these chains, that truly make the level's vibe. And there we go. I think this is as bass after bass as it really gets. Next part is Stereo Madness and Back on Track, and I don't really think this part needs any specific deco, but I should honestly add some of these here. So the basic design that you can find in both Stereo Madness and Back on Track right here. There we go. We got a storm of antennas. We got a storm of spikes. That is exactly how I felt when I started playing the game. A storm of information trying to kill you. This part right here is Theory of Everything 1 and 2, so it's gonna be a bit of a hardship to decorate. I'm gonna see you guys when it's done. I started playing when this was the meta, right? When this was the basic decoration of every featured level that ever came out. Next up, we've got the dry out decoration. I don't think we're gonna need a lot to worry about here because the decoration is really simple. I just have to fill in these blocks and maybe add some spikes on the floor, so I'm gonna do that next. So yeah, this is literally it. We can move on to the next part, and then after this, we only have this and then we're done. I feel like if I take a whole lot of time on this, the video is gonna last forever, so I'm just gonna see you guys when this is done. Okay, I'm reporting in 2 minutes later because I realized that Cycles really doesn't have anything else to offer other than spikes and spikes. So I literally made this whole decoration, this whole part, in exactly 2 minutes. This other part though I might have to struggle a bit more with, so I'll see you guys when this is done. And this concludes our level. This is the final part, fully decorated, and now this whole level is complete, resembling all RobTop's vibes in a way that I could create them the best, because I'm not the best at creating. Hopefully this is good enough. So this is our level that represents every RobTop level in one. I still haven't given it a name, so I will. And I think it actually turned out pretty well. I know that I'm not the best at creating and that I have subjective opinions about my own works, but let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you guys like it enough, I'm gonna make a whole level out of this. I'm gonna expand it and then publish it on my Geometry Dash account. And for now, that's gonna be it. I'll see you guys next time, and remember, stay creative. Goodbye.